Pastors don't just speak the word of God to you, they also watch over your souls. That language is really interesting. It comes from that text that was read in the Old Testament reading from Ezekiel chapter 3, where God called the prophet Ezekiel, and he said to Ezekiel, I've made you a watchman over the house of Israel. I'm going to give you my word to give to them, and if you don't give them my word, Ezekiel, here's a warning. Their blood will be on your hands. If you give them my word and they reject it, well, then they're guilty. And you're innocent, but your job, Ezekiel, is to watch over my people. Don't be negligent, or it will cost you. And here, we're told that pastors, here's what they do, verse 17, what leaders in the church do, they watch over the souls of the people entrusted to them. You know, the word is actually a really interesting word. It's often used in the context of having a sleepless night, not being able to sleep, staying up. And many of you, right, we've all been there. It's the idea that these pastors are tirelessly, that's how it's supposed to be, at least watching over the souls of the people, making sure that they're not being led astray. I love, the New Testament reading from Acts chapter 20, where Paul talks about how night and day he was with the leaders of the church in Ephesus, right? Like pleading with them, warning them, saying, after my departure, savage wolves are going to come in. They're not going to spare the flock. He's a pastor. He's a shepherd. I've always been blown away by his description of his sufferings in 2 Corinthians chapter 11, right? He talks about all the things he experienced as an apostle preaching the word of God. He says, I've been lashed 5 times. I've been beaten with rods 3 times. I was shipwrecked. I almost died. I've been hungry oftentimes, constantly in danger. Danger from false brothers within the church, danger from false teachers outside of the church. And then he says, on top of all of that, there is the daily pressure on me of my anxiety for all the churches. Who is weak and I am not weak? Who is made to fall and I am not indignant? God doesn't just call pastors to preach to people in a cold and disconnected way, but to shepherd their souls. There's supposed to be a bond between the leaders in the church and the people of the church. And that's precisely what was struggling in the church of the Hebrews. There was tension. There was conflict. God calls pastors, God calls me to watch over you with concern, to make sure that you're not drifting into sin or heresy or unbelief.